So welcome to this evening's planning and thingy meeting, and welcome to you all. Item 1 on the agenda is apologies. Dean, have we had any apologies?
Councillor Knight.
Councillor Knight, okay. Thank you. Item 2, declarations of interest. Anybody got any declarations of interest at all? No, I'll take that as a no then. Item 3, the minutes. Hopefully you've all read the minutes, and are you happy to agree the minutes?
I propose. Yeah.
Yeah, are you all happy with that? Thank you.
Yeah.
Taken. Item 4 is Department of Transport, parking on pavements, and over to you, Richard.
Right. Yeah, there's a consultation, one of the many that are floating around at the moment. We know about parking on pavements. It's been a problem in the back streets of Ramsgate for years. They have decided that they think that something should be done about it. In my report and my response, which I hope that the council might adopt, is I'm pointing out that vehicles are 15 to 20% bigger than they were 10 to 15 years ago, and they're also an awful lot heavier because they're using four-wheel drives, for instance, which some of them are 2.5 tons. They cause a lot of damage to the pavements. We also find there's an awful lot of evidence that people are almost being we've talked a lot about lockdown and how people feel isolated. Quite a lot of older people who are less ambulatory are finding that people parking their vehicles in such a way on pavements, meaning they can't even get out of their houses, and there are documentary evidence to show that this is a growing problem. Also, people are having to go round the outside of vehicles and onto the road in order to use it, so it's a real issue. Now, from the point of view of the motorist, it makes good sense in the sense they get the vehicle off the road, they allow it to pass, and they're getting damaged. I mean, bearing in mind that a motor vehicle was probably the second biggest item on anybody's expenditure, and they want to do what they can to save it from getting damaged. The options would seem to be that the law at the moment, it says, it's weird really, except in London, that it's not actually unlawful to park your vehicle on a pavement, but it is unlawful to drive onto the pavement. So if a policeman happens to see you driving your vehicle onto a pavement, you will get a ticket. If, on the other hand, you park the vehicle and nobody sees it, nobody will do anything. There's no enforcement, except in London, where it is unlawful. Now, they're coming up with various different options, and I'm suggesting that actually they should all be enacted. That the whole thing should be taken in whole. That it should be unlawful to park on a pavement. The problem comes, of course, it's enforcement, and unfortunately, local councils would be forced into doing it. The only way I can see around that is to come and adopt some kind of Google car, in the sense you have a camera, you watch people going past, and you just take photographs of the cars on there, and they get a ticket and do it that way. That might describe it, but we also probably need to look at parking in general, and the fact that so many of these roads are Victorian roads and they're not designed for the motor vehicle. We're certainly not the amount of motor vehicles we've got. It's been worked out that 96% of the time the motor vehicle spends its time parked up somewhere, whether it's on a pavement or whether it's at Westwood Cross or whether it's at work. That's what it does. It does very little work. 5% of that time, at most, is spent tootling around doing something, carrying passengers. I think the only way, the real way about it, it's not automated vehicles, it's not electric vehicles, but probably to encourage car sharing. If we had bigger car pools and car sharing systems that are trying to get off the ground around here, that might be a way forward. Then people would cease to use their cars so often. We don't have the highest amount of cars in Europe per person, but we use it more than other people. In other words, Germany, France and various other places have higher car ownership, but they don't actually use them as much, so it's not as much of a problem. I went to Nets last year, and you'll find there's a lot of underground parking there, which was made a no-no from the Buchanan report of 1963. But that is another responsibility. But it costs an awful lot of money to start digging up the environment, say, for instance, in the various parks and gardens.
Richard, sorry, can I just cut in here? Can you concentrate on? Can we just concentrate on the parking on our pavements and not go to Germany or anywhere? You all right, mate? You finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on what Richard's saying?
Is that okay, Steve? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Well, obviously in Central Harbour, Val Square, and if you go through Val Square right the way back, all the way on the side roads, all the roads in Val Square, every single car is parked partially on the pavement. If you used to start issuing tickets, there would be Armageddon. Unbelievable. It's well, if you used to go there and just visit it about this time of night, you would not believe the parking mayhem that takes place every single night on those streets. But well, you have to park on the pavement, partially on the pavement, to allow access for emergency vehicles and other vehicles to traverse the road. Parked in the road itself, either side, but there's no yellow lines or anything like that. There will be no access to any of the roads. I should imagine you're talking about 5,000 or 6,000 vehicles.
It's horrendous.
6,000 owners. It would be, well, maybe.
Well, why would you buy a house in Val Square where there's no parking? You've got
Pat, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm having a running battle with Papa George in York Street. York Street has bollards to prevent pavement parking, but what happened there? What he does, he parks his car diagonally between the bollards and completely blocks the pavement. You can't walk past on either side, never mind a buggy, never mind a mobility vehicle. And it's pretty bad in Harbour Street as well, as we all know. And that's all to do with fast food deliveries.
Yes, it is.
And I was wondering if there's any other way of doing it. I mean, my theory always was that the Cavendish Street car park should be free after 6 o'clock. All the takeaway deliveries, people could park there and they could be contacted by phone when they have to go round and pick up a delivery.
There shouldn't be driving on that.
I think you've got to look at the wider issue. I know we want to try and keep it to Ramsgate, but at the end of the day, the government are looking at this. We've all suffered it. We've all had the same thing. I've been Crescent Road. I walk down Crescent Road, and especially at night, as Peter has said, and it's a nightmare. If you were disabled, you'd have to go out into the road to take your disabled vehicle or walk past. And sometimes I felt like, just like you said, Pat, where someone's deliberately parked across the pavement, are walking over their car because it's on the pavement. But I have held myself back from that. But I don't know what the answer is. I don't even think the government has got the answer. So we'll just wait and see. David?
Yeah, I mean, parking, Richard's right. I mean, parking, and Steve, parking is a problem, particularly for disabled people, whether they're in pushchairs or whether they're regularly in cars. It does make it difficult to get around. But Peter's right too, because some of the streets in Southwood, in Nethercourt in particular, you have to park on the pavement. Otherwise,
no, just don't have cars.
Emergency vehicles.
I'm going to say they can't have a car.
Yeah, I agree. Peter?
Unless we...
Can I ask members, if they're not actually speaking, contributing at that moment, to turn their mics off, because you can hear comments over and above what Councillor Green was saying, and I missed actually what he said. So if people, members, can mute their mics when they're not actually contributing, that would be useful. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. David, did you want to just re-say what you said there so Peter can hear?
I was just agreeing with both of the previous speakers, really. It is a problem, particularly for disabled people. But also in some streets in a town like Ramsgate, Southwood in particular, in Nethercourt, you have to park on the pavement, otherwise emergency vehicles, etc., couldn't get through. So I don't know what the solution is.
Pat?
There are, if you look at particular places, there are some individual solutions. Like in York Street, there is a lay-by which has double yellow lines on, curiously. That could be eased up. The same in Harbour Street, there's a lay-by with double yellow lines. They're all waiting at 5 o'clock to rush into that place, despite the fact it's supposed to be illegal. And there may be other places, if you look at closely from a pavement and road, that you can put these lay-bys in. Now, I know nobody's got any money to do that, but there are individual places where there could be solutions, but not everywhere, obviously.
No, I mean, of course it's going to be down to KCC. How they want this, they want this to be dealt with. But of course, we're just waiting for the government to make a decision. So Richard's right. You know, which I've known for some time. You know, you can park on a pavement. It's not illegal, but if you're seen parking on it by a police officer, then they can book you. But the likelihood of that happening is fantasy, to be quite honest. So, Richard, is there anything? Did you want to do a response from Thanet District Council or from Ramsgate Town Council? Sorry.
I think we've got Councillor Green does want to speak, but just briefly before he does, I could suggest that I think Councillor Makinson is correct in that, for instance, Meeting Street car park is hardly used, and yet people won't use it simply because they think they're going to get a charge. I think we probably need to think a bit more broadly than just, and I do understand from Thanet District Council's point of view, they want to get revenue in, but we have a half-empty multi-storey. There are various other car parks are half-empty, and I think there's also the car sharing schemes that could be there. I think there's a kind of like a carrot and a stick approach that could be used. It's not going to be the total answer, and there are always going to be difficulties. But I think in some places you could show where there are car park spaces available at night. You could do something about that and come up with an area parking scheme so people could have a ticket and buy it at a cheap rate to just get the cars off the road. Because some of this pavement parking, I've been on some of the places of some of the streets, and you really can't get emergency vehicles around there at all because of the parking. And that is a serious problem, and I know that's an issue because I was speaking to the fire service only the other day, and they were mentioning it's getting more and more of a problem. But anyway, so there are my other suggestions, which aren't in the paper, but we could look at as on a local basis.
Okay, thank you, David, and then Becky.
I was just going to say that if we intend to submit Richard's paper, it needs to be modified to include the plight of Regency and Victorian streets, where you have to some extent, use the pavement to park.
I agree. Becky?
Apologies for being late. Well, I think we should be extending the residents' parking scheme because it's definitely made a massive difference here, positive difference to us, although I don't have a permit because I have a parking bay, but it's made a detrimental effect to people further back. But I think TDC and KCC should be thinking outside the box. So there's a standard charge for two cars per household, but really they should be making small cars and environmentally friendly cars completely free, and then charging a greater amount for I've got a diesel car, charge me more to try and get me out of that. But there are no electric charging points, so we could put in electric charging points. Interestingly, I'm going to my sister's, but I will go to my mum's in Walthamstow. They've got it across there, and they actually have, I'm allowed to park on the pavement, but within a marked area. And if I go over that, if I'm even on the line, they'll just ticket me immediately. And invariably I don't take my car because I'm not registered, and it makes it more difficult for me to be there. So it encourages me to go on the train. So I think the whole residents parking scheme, I mean, I know further back from us here, there is a man with 7 vintage vehicles parked on a street. And if we had residents parking scheme, he would not be able to do that because he'd only be allowed 2 cars per household. So I think there's a chance of mixing things. Am I also right in thinking that some of the residents that live around the swimming pool can actually access the parking in the swimming pool car park overnight? Am I aware of that? I think that might be an idea. So I think a combination of residents parking, moving further into the town, marking pavement bays, so some parking on pavements because we can't avoid that on some roads, and also Pat's issue of allowing people to use car parks at night, so an evening parking permit that is the same cost as a resident's parking permit.
I think just to come back on a couple of things there, Becky, certainly I've been working with residents up on the East Cliff because they want residents parking, so I've been helping them to get together and to get that done. I've also asked TDC officers to be looking at other areas in Ramsgate for residents parking, and you need to put in some documentation and stuff for that to actually take place, and then for it to be assessed. I don't know about the car park at that's the Cannon Road one, isn't it, Becky? You're talking about?
I think it is. It is. I'll have a look next time. I know you get.
Yeah, I don't know. To be, I don't know for the short answer on that. I think the other issue as well now at the moment, of course, is a lot of people are working from home and are not using their cars. And I obviously think that that's going to be a continuing issue as this COVID thing goes on. Peter?
There's an ongoing problem as well, particularly in the side streets in Becky and Ours Ward and Roshan's Ward, Central Harbour. But the waste trucks can't get down the roads because of cars parked on the corners of the roads. Yeah. This is increasingly becoming problematic. So I think TDC, irrespective of the national picture, are going to have to act and do something soon to actually exacerbate that particular problem, because residents aren't getting their bins collected, basically.
Yeah, Peter, I can advise you of something on that. Is that I've been doing some work on that. Certainly, what's happening is our waste trucks, as they're going around, if they can't get anywhere, coming back reporting that, and we are looking and working with KCC to get double yellow lines in around various areas to stop that happening, to allow our vehicles access. So that is an ongoing process, Peter. I can advise you of that. So how do you want to leave this?
Can I just make a suggestion? Maybe the foreman on the particular truck can take a photo of the cars that are actually parked on the yellow lines or the corners, so that a punitive fine can be issued at a later date.
Well, we are with the new trucks, Peter. When we get them, we will be. They will have cameras like that, because they will be taking photos of places where people are. Say they put their bins out and they don't, so we can do that, and that will be used. I can guarantee you that. Yeah. So is anybody? Do anybody want to make a suggestion? Or personally, I think we'll take. We need to work with you, Richard, on this. All right.
Yeah. Chairman.
Yes.
Chairman, can I just throw into the pot that a sign is not going to be desperately expensive, but we're never going to stop people parking on these roads, and whether it's emergency vehicles or bin lorries, we're never going to stop people parking on these roads, no matter how much we fine them. But a sign which says that, for example, if bin day is on a Wednesday, you cannot park on this street on a Wednesday. And the rest of the week they'll do it anyway, but on bin day they must not park on that street, or they will be fined quite heavily. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Stuart. I have to say that it's something I raised about a year ago, to be honest, with the director, because I'm talking to some American friends, and that actually happens in the United States, where they say where people are parked, where they've got to empty the bins, they say you don't park this side on a Wednesday, we'll be back on Thursday, you don't park on the other side until the bin round's done. So, but thank you for reminding me of that, because I did put that in about a year ago. Okay, if we leave it at that then. Okay. Thank you for that. Richard, back over to you. Item 5, local plan. Unmute that man.
Yes. The local plan's just about gone through its process now. It's taken a very long time and various things, and we've collected, and it unfortunately has collected a number of additional houses on the way, as the government's punished it for not getting its local plan in time. There is now a government planning consultation called Planning for the Future, and this infamous algorithm is going to be included. I don't actually think that's going to make an awful lot of difference, because government imposes the figures anyways, the housing figures anyway, whether it comes from an algorithm or anything else. As far as Ramsgate's concerned, and this is where we're concerned, is we're pretty well built on. 90% of Ramsgate is already built on. There is not very much left for developers to develop, and we're really talking about brownfield sites, and some of those now are developed at long last, thank God. What I'm suggesting is that the new developments that are likely to come to Ramsgate, we had policies we've already sent, and Councillor Alber and I and Councillor Wing, we all work together on that, particularly particularly sustainability in terms of being able to cycle, walk, and all the rest of it, anything public transport, so that instead of building estates that can only be used by cars very easily and everything else is very difficult, that we have access. And I'm suggesting that the planning permission that's already been given to the I forget what they're called, Kentish properties thing on East Kent, on EKO land, I think should be a start. It abuts already Stirling Way, and I think we should suggest to Thanet District Council that if they have imposed a Section 106 or done something of that sort, that we should actually encourage them to actually connect it all up, so that people can already, it would be a showpiece to show how an estate could be built with sustainability in the moment. Because at the moment everything is just, if you look at around Westwood Cross and some of those persimmon houses at the end there, I mean, it's just, it's car city. There is no access at all, so hardly any access at all. Whereas that one is a relatively small unit. You've already got Stirling Way there. You've got the space to put in the cycleways and everything else. I think it would be just, I'm suggesting, bearing in mind the local plan is in favour of it, that we should encourage Thanet District Council to do something about that as a kind of like a starter scheme.
Okay, so that was it. Anybody got any comment on that? No? Richard? Again, I would like to work with you on that, to get something formulated, and I'm happy to do that. So if we can put a bit of time in, and then we'll do that. Yeah. Okay. Move on. Thank you. Item 6, planning applications. Dean, over to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, Eileen, sorry.
Eileen, and then Dean plans for you. It's fine.
Are you sure that's
session
you,
one
Eileen?
is
I can't
37.
see you.
Can't see me.
No, I can't see. I can't see your lips moving. Sorry.
Anyway, number one is 37 Nethercourt Garden. The erection of a single story, we call this in possible overdevelopment, impact on neighbours and street scene. Dean has now created a PowerPoint document which contains all your applications, so he will now go through this with you, and then you can make comments, etc.
Okay, so as Eileen said, we've got 37 Nethercourt Gardens. So the first plan, so the top right image you can see, this is just off of London Road and the Nethercourt Road going up towards St Lawrence. The top right image you can see is the existing. I've tried to put the layout of where the building will be in orange, if you can see that. So it actually comes butt up to next door, so it would match the existing as the neighbouring property. So just go to the plan. So this is the existing plan, so it's the plan in the middle that you want to be looking at. So they'll actually be filling in that L-shaped gap. So just go to the proposed. So you can see that they're filling in that gap to butt up to next door. Next door's extension as well. So they're extending it out to create a like dining room living space. So this is the existing side elevation and rear elevation. So the top right image is the image you want to be focusing on. That'll drop down to the bottom right. So you can see this is the proposed. You can see the extension put onto the rear there. Committee for comment.
Okay, anybody got anything to say on that at all? David, in your area, didn't know if you wanted to say anything.
Because he called it in, didn't he?
No, I called it in, but I think it looks okay.
Yeah, I haven't got an issue with that at all. So, unless anybody's against it, I think we make no comment.
No comment. Yeah, agreed.
Everybody agreement with that? I think the best doing it the other way. Unless I hear anybody, we will take it as agreed. Thank you. Next one, please, Dean.
Thank you, Chairman. 15 St Mildred's Avenue, erection of a single-storey utility room extension. This is again called in by Councillor Green. Possible overdevelopment, impact on neighbours and street scene. Thank you.
Okay, so same thing again. This is just off of London Road in St Mildred's. So the top right image you have there is from the street view. The extension will be behind those trees and hedges, so the street scene won't be impacted. The bottom image you can see in orange is where the extension would be, so it's actually tagging onto an existing extension. So just go to the plans. Okay, so the bottom row, bottom right, you've got the existing floor plan, and they're actually putting the extension onto the...
We haven't got the plans up yet, Dean.
Okay, let me know when you have.
Yeah, we've got them now.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I haven't got them.
Nor me.
Okay, bear with me 1 second.
I've still got the photos.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, got them.
Hang on, bear with me a second. Okay, you've got them up. Yep. Okay, yeah, so so the bottom row is the existing floor plan. They'll come back. So the bottom row is the existing floor plan, and the middle second row is with the tagging on the extension to the kitchen. The extension does have a full skylight to provide light into that extension.
I still haven't got it.
Got it now, thank you. Okay, anybody got any comments to make?
You're back again.
I can't see a particular problem with it unless anyone's got anything to say.
Nothing at all.
You make no comment?
No comment.
Okay, we'll leave no comment. Thank you. Next item, please, Dean.
Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, sorry, Eileen, yes.
It's all right. No, it's fine. Number 3 is 36 Helvellyn Avenue. Erection of a 2 extension, single-storey rear extension together with single-storey side extension to existing garage. Again, called in by Councillor Green. Possible overdevelopment, impact on neighbours and street scene. Thank you, Dean.
Okay, so this, as said, this one's in Nethercourt. The top right image shows the aerial shot. There are no other developments in this area with a large second-storey extension. There are single-storey extensions in that area. The bottom image I've done in orange to show the footprint of the where the building will come out. So going on to the plans, so the top row shows the existing, and the second row shows how far it's coming out onto that extension. So you can see the extension there for front, side and rear, and the garage at the bottom right, you can see in black the extension. First row is existing, second row is proposed. Committee to comment.
Looks like there's plenty of room to accommodate it to me.
Yeah. I can't see a refusal there, to be quite honest. So unless anybody's got anything against that, if you could please say otherwise. David?
I called this in because I'd had complaints from neighbours.
Right.
But to me it looks okay.
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment? Okay, if that's the case, I propose a no comment from RTC. And unless anybody's got anything, if I don't hear now, as I'm not, then that would be agreed as no comment. Thank you. Next one, please, Eileen.
Thank you. Number 4 is 64 Estelle Avenue, replacement of existing 2-metre boundary fence with a 2-metre high wall with gates, called in by Councillor Green. Possible overdevelopment, impact on neighbours and street scene. Thank you, Dean.
Okay, so yeah, again, this one's in Nethercourt. So the bottom image there is the wall that they wish to put the fencing on. To give a bit of context, the top right image, there's no other fencing in that area. The only fencing that is of the same property with a trellis fence, which is planning to be removed. So just going on to the plans, you can see the design of the gates and the wall there. Committee to comment.
Is there a reason why, sorry, Dean, is there a reason why they're saying that they require this, or is it just, is it for privacy, or have they mentioned that at all in their application?
There was no detail, no.
No, okay.
Chair?
Yeah?
Yeah, Peter Campbell here. Yeah, I don't like it at all. It looks far too industrial. It even looks like a sort of a prison. It's got enclosure into a sort of prison effect. The gates look okay, but the fencing on top of the wall is going to be out of character. It's a standard. It looks like a very unusual design wall, avant-garde design wall. It's going to be completely spoilt by these industrial railings that they intend to put on top of the wall. No, I don't like this at all.
I do side with you on this piece of myself. I think it's detrimental to the local amenity of the area.
Yeah.
Who's that? Sorry.
It's Pat.
Hello, Pat.
I think it's just incredibly ugly, including the gates, which I think are very ugly, and they've got that solid bit at the bottom, which makes it even worse. It's really inappropriate for that townscape. It's not. I don't know what they're trying to create there. I do not like it at all, but I don't know whether that is a reason to object.
Well, I think the normal thing is detrimental to the local amenity of the area.
And we could have Pat doesn't like it.
Yeah, Pat doesn't like it.
Pat don't like it. Has anybody got anything else that they want to comment on this?
Chair.
Well, actually, I don't like it either.
David?
Jane.
Sorry. David first. Who was that? Becky?
It was actually the gates that bothered me, because there's no drop curb there, and I wondered. I don't know how planning stands if people seek to introduce gates like that without a drop curb.
It's whether they're forming a vehicle access, and then it has to be on a. I can't remember the name of the type of the road, but unless it's a main road, then they wouldn't consent to drop the curb.
It's potentially a vehicle access.
Yeah.
I think it's on a corner.
It's on a corner, yeah. So which would be dangerous, would it not? Becky?
It was Jane, actually, but...
Oh, sorry, Jane.
Aesthetically, I think it's hideous, but that's beside the point, really.
No, it's not beside the point, Jane. It's a very valid point, and it is its effect on the local amenity of the area. So, I think the majority of us are against this.
Yep.
And so I hear anything else. I think, Dean, if we could say RTC believes it should be refused on the grounds of its effects on the local amenity of the area.
Mm-hmm.
If that's okay.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got that.
Okay.
And could we mention the location of the gates near a corner too?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Thank
RTC
you.
concerned about the location of the gates in relation to a possible vehicle access.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Next one, please, Eileen.
Thank you. Number 5 is flats 2 and 4, Zion Court, 3 to 4, Zion Hill. It's the erection of a second and third floor extension to enlarge existing 2 two-bedroom self-contained flats to 2 6-bedroom self-contained masonettes with creation of roof terrace, erection of front balconies, alterations to fenestration, and addition of external spiral staircase to rear following demolition of existing parapet and first floor balcony balustrade. It's in the conservation area, called in by Councillor Makinson, who the reason is ambitious project in a conservation area.
Sounds very
Thank you,
ambitious.
Dean.
Okay, so this is just up on the cliff top on in East Cliff. So you've got the designs there. So on the street view. So on the top right hand corner, I've drawn an orange line of where it will be matching the existing, and the bottom one, the bottom image is showing in orange the existing as well. So I'll just bring up the plans. So this is the existing. So you can see the middle right is the existing, and the bottom left where it's not the same, and they're basically filling in that gap. So, okay.
Can you wait until everybody's got the pic before you start talking, please?
Yeah, sure, no worries.
You're still thinking about it.
Those TDC machines that you're a problem.
Yeah, whilst we're actually on these pictures, you see this building on the right hand, upper right hand, yeah, which is, I think it's Zion Court, yeah. They had a similar extension floor put on to level it off with the building. This is exactly what they're doing with this particular application. So about 18 months, 2 years ago, that floor, that first building you can see on the top right-hand corner with the beige balconies, that was put on top only about 18 months ago. And that's exactly what this application is doing. And we still haven't got the drawings. It's still thinking
the drawings. Yeah.
I think we're going to find it extremely difficult to object to this, as 2 doors along, they've done exactly the same thing, not 18 months, 2 years ago. That was rejected by TDC Planning Committee, I believe, and overturned by the planning officer, planning appeal. Yeah, and I think TDC were fined. So I don't think we're in it. Even if we don't like it, I don't think it's going to be rejected.
Chairman, Councillor Piper,
Yes,
it is highly unlikely that this won't go ahead, but perhaps, you know, doing our due diligence and duty, we could put a comment on there about appropriate materials for the conservation area.
Oh yes,
rather than sort of make no comment at all. I think we need to comment about the materials. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that, Stuart. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yes, appropriate materials. Can I suggest appropriate materials in design that conform with conservation area design features?
Can I say something?
Go on then.
Yes, Pat.
I think this is quite good. I think we ought to support it. It is a missing tooth in that terrace, whether the other one was done recently or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I would query the use of a 6-bedroom maisonette on the upper floors, but other than that, the sort of physical appearance of the outside, I think fills in this gap, and we ought to support it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's why we make no comment, providing that, as Stuart has said, that the materials design and everything matches within the conservation area.
Councillor Wing, sorry, and I declare an interest because I know the applicant, so in a sense I'm staying out of it, but I support Councillor Campbell. We had a similar situation on Nelson Crescent, which was an infill, and I found that quite difficult because I believe our conservation area is the way it is because there isn't a unique level on our skyline. So I also think we need to consider that, okay, it might be an infill, might be appropriate, but some people think the infill might be inappropriate because it takes away the very nature of our conservation area, which is things were built off plan. So it's a double-edged sword, that infill or not infill.
Yeah, good argument. Yeah.
I'll just say, if you look at the bottom picture, you can see along this terrace that none of the buildings are in any way similar at all to each other. There's no uniformity that this is going to break. Yeah, the only thing that this is going to do is level up the skyline, and we still can't see the actual design because it's still thinking about it.
It's pretty much like next door, let's put it that way.
Sign, they'd have built the bloody thing.
Okay. Are we all in agreement that we would that we make no comment except to say the right materials are made?
No comment. It's as Councillor Piper has said, appropriate materials must be used in a conservation area, and the design must conform so that it conforms to conservation area standards.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Okay.
Sorry, Chair. Apologies.
No worries. Okay. So we're all in agreement with that. Then we shall move on.
Thank
Next
you,
one,
Chair.
please, Eileen.
Thank you. This is This is Little Newlands Piggery, Newlands Lane, called in by Councillor Stuart Piper. They've been granted permission as per the plans which Dean will show you. They've now put in for part retrospective application for a change of use of land for the siting of caravans, now for 4 residential gypsy pitches comprising of 4 static caravans, 4 tourers, together with associated day room, parking, hard standing, amenity area and bin store. So it is the same but more, if you see what I mean. Thank you, Dean.
Okay, hoping you can see these. If not, apologies. So I've got the street view to show. It's up by Fallen School off of Parsons Road. It's that piece of land that we've seen many times before. So this plan, hopefully that shows, is the existing or the previous application. So the grey square in amongst all those trees is the day building of the last application. The yellow and orange are for the mobile caravan and static caravan. That is what has been previously put towards us for 1 static and 1 mobile. What they're planning to do, and hopefully you can see this now, is they're keeping the day room, they're putting in a bin store by the entrance, and they're putting in 4 mobile and static caravans with allocated parking spaces. Hopefully you can see that. So I'll just show you. So the day room has not changed throughout any of the applications. That has stayed the same. All dimensions and all rooms have stayed the same. And if you wanted to know, that is the bin store layout. But I can go back to the plan. So let me just go back. So that's
Dean, I've still got the aerial photograph of the field.
Right,
Just so you know.
okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Dean, they seem to have lost the trees, is that right?
It looks that way from the plans. These are the only plans that we've been able to get hold of.
Yeah. It looks like they take the trees out and put the fence up. Oh no, it says existing fence, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says existing fence.
Yeah, from
maybe they're just not showing the trees. Don't mean to say they're taking them out without seeing the application and what it says.
Yeah, Chair. Just to add that, looking at the application, it's actually not certain whether they are or are not being removed. It doesn't state.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Piper, you called it in. What do you want?
Thank you. First of all, can I say thank you to you, Steve, and to Eileen and Dean, because this was a late call in, and I really do appreciate the extra work that you've put in to bring this before us at the moment. I'm still looking at the site layout plan, which shows the proposed 4 hard standings. The actual application is for those 4 hard standings plus 4 touring caravans and associated vehicles. It's a massive overdevelopment of the area that they have, and it follows. They've only put in this retrospective application because of the number of complaints myself and other people have made that in the last 6 to 8 months they have had varyingly between 3 and 5 caravans on that site, all kinds of digger vehicles and so on parked on that site. They are just abusing the generosity, I think, of the local residents by what they're doing on this site. More importantly, for the moment, can you go back to the aerial photograph, please, Dean?
Sure.
Or Eileen, whoever's controlling that. Okay, you can see where the site is, and just to the southwest of that, you can see the school building. Yeah?
Yeah.
So directly below the red circle is another field which belongs to the school, and the school has planning permission to build a centre on there with all access and so on across Newlands Lane for the disabled children. the problem the school has at the moment is that the travellers are using that field to park their vehicles because they've got so many caravans on the site. They haven't got room for their vehicles, so they're using the school land as a car park. They have a permanently sited very large horse box on there, and they are grazing a horse in the school field. They have been asked to vacate the school land, and they've basically told the chair of governors, a gentleman called Steve Pamphilon, who's written to me and sent me lots of photographic evidence. They've basically told him to clear off. They're not doing anybody any harm. I just wish there was a way we could write to these people and say, until you obey the law, we will not consider any planning applications that you submit, because they clearly are willfully breaking the law, trespass and all sorts of other things. But I would strongly, and in keeping with local residents and especially Fallen Field School, strongly object to any further development of this site from 2 and 1, which it was, to 4 and 4, because it will carry all the associated vehicles and so on, and the actual number of vehicles barreling up and down Newlands Lane is a danger to the children. It never was intended that that lane, when the school was put there, would be so busy with so many vehicles. And some of them are excavation type vehicles that they used when they created their hard standing. I think we should strongly object to it. Lots of local residents are. I've called it in at TDC, and the chair of governors wishes to speak at TDC. And the other curious thing is they've sent it to us for our considerations, but I'm now being told the site is actually in St. Peter's, so it's not in Northwood at all. The original site apparently is, but then were they to extend that site in any way, shape or form, it crosses the boundary. And their activity next to the school at the moment in the use of that field is in Northwood, but the actual, I'm told now that the actual site is not. So I'm grateful to you for letting us look at it and for letting me put the points of local residents. It is right on the pencil line of the boundary. And of course the people of St. Peter's aren't going to be affected by it because it's open fields. It's the people of Northwood who are going to be adversely affected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stuart, for that. And I certainly the Board of Governors of the school need to take some legal action against the travellers there to stop them using their land. I mean, that's the only way they can get an order to keep them off their land. It looks to me a bit of an overdevelopment of the site, and I whilst we do need traveller sites in Thanet, as we all know, but that doesn't seem big enough for that amount. And as you're saying, there is already there's a lot of vehicles there. Obviously they can't get them on that land, and they're using other people's land for it. So it would appear then that it is overdeveloped.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The other thing I suppose crucially I should have mentioned, that field that they are using as their car park already has planning permission by the school to build on it, and the school can't get on the site at the moment, which is more than a little irritating for them. But the other thing is we are looking at providing traveller sites, and these people are very clever in the way they use the law to get them what they want, and then it seems to me they abuse the law the moment they've got it. Then it's not a traveller site, it's a gypsy site, and they are different communities. They're totally different communities. So this site would never, it seems to me, be considered as one of the potential traveller sites because it's a gypsy site.
A gypsy site. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else got any comments?
Yeah, just as sort of. Can you hear me?
Yes, Peter, carry on.
Yeah, well, it seems to me obvious that it's overdevelopment simply because to accommodate the usage of this particular site, they need to incur illegal or unlawful, I should say, parking on land that does not belong to them. So therefore, it's demonstrably overdevelopment of the site, because to utilise the site as now has been done, they need to unlawfully park vehicles on another site that is not part of ownership and is not part of the application. Does the owner of this site own any other land?
You haven't got a clue.
It's that whole field area that's directly below the red circle. He owns all of that. The rest of the land is owned by not Woodbridge. What's his name? The builder, the carpenter fella.
I thought it was Woodbridge.
Burbridge. Yeah.
Well, the school owned it.
The school owns its own site plus the field next to it, the big field to the right of the school.
You're talking about the whole brown field that's shown as brown.
No, I'm talking about the one that's due south of the red circle.
Yeah, that one. That one is the one.
That's where they're parking, and that's the field that belongs
Peter
to the school.
Peter was asking if the Gypsy owned any other site, and did you say that they own the one that they're on and the whole of that rectangle field?
No, they only own the green shaded area that they're on.
Okay.
The rest of it belongs to Burbridge.
Okay.
Chair.
Yes, David.
Because the use of that school field is not a planning issue, is it?
It's not. Sorry.
The use of that school field won't be a planning issue, will it?
No, but it can certainly be reported to the enforcement officers who can serve notices to stop them using it for the grazing of horses and also the sighting of vehicles.
What I do think, and I don't know what the term is in terms of overdevelopment, but the stress on the access to that site.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Would seem to be a planning issue to me.
Yeah, and especially in relation to the Forward School as well. I think it's going to have a major impact on the school, which I think has got to be a consideration. Have you got all this down, Eileen?
Yes, Chairman. I've got everything down to do with overdevelopment and demonstrated by the unlawful parking, etc. I've got it all.
And the use of the access road, and also the overdevelopment would have a detrimental effect on the local school, the adjacent school.
Thank you. I've got that as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you're all happy with that? I think we are. So, any more, Eileen?
No, that's it, Chairman. Thank you.
Can I just bring up a point, Chair, that I noticed today? Is that okay?
Yes.
I saw an article in Kent Online whereby Tunbridge Wells are being funded a community hub. They're a town of 56,000 people by KCC. The design, the doors are too small and they can't get the scenery in or something, and they're now £40,000 short, and they're going back to KCC for extra funding. Now, it strikes me that Tunbridge Wells, not short of a bob or two, I imagine, we're also creating a community hub at Radford House. Now, would it be appropriate for Ramsgate Town Council, because this is a project that's been fronted by Tunbridge Wells on their board of a committee that are actually developing this particular project. There are KCC councillors, various other notaries from the county. Perhaps it might be appropriate if we approach Kent County Council for similar funding for our community project in a much poorer area of Kent, namely Ramsgate. If people want to go on Kent Online, it's on there today. It's been a project.
I totally agree with you, Peter, and we could use with help for our doors on Bradford House, which are quite small. So we could do with £40,000 to replace our doors.
I think I don't know what the total funding is, but the article in Kent Online actually states that. I mean, if you look at the building, this is a new build. This is quite a substantial building. This is not some piddling little shed that they're going to, that looks like a Boy Scouts hut. This is for they're going to move it. It's going to be their town hall. It's going to be a real large structure. I don't know where they've got the funding from, but my suspicion is that a considerable amount of money would have come from Kent County Council. So I think investigation needs to take place as the funding that Kent County Council have put in for this particular building, and also an application by us to KCC for similar match funding that we're putting in.
Are you still there, Richard? Hopefully you've made note of that, Richard, and wherever you may be, and we'll discuss that and see what we can do. Thank you for that, Peter. Pat,
say something.
Yeah,
I
will do.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to Dean, because he made the reading of the plans much easier with his orange lines on everything.
Absolutely.
And he obviously put quite a bit of work into doing that, and I'd just like to thank him for that.
Thank you for that, Pat. I have to say he's a very good orange line drawer.
Yes.
What more can you say after that? Okay,
Thank you.
that's the end of that. Sorry, Peter.
Chairman, can I just say to everybody that the just on a highways thing, as you know, in Harbour Parade there were a whole load of very ugly orange and white crash barriers. We have replaced them with planters that we built on site at Radford House, and they have been erected. They've been made, erected and planted within a week at cost, and that's saved the Thanet District Council quite a lot of money and time and effort. So I will be bigging that one up in obviously on the media, because I think that shows just what our technicians and why we've got the technicians and what it can achieve in short order.
Okay, can I just say as well before I bring Peter back in, just so you all know, in relation to all the land, the park areas, Albion Gardens, etc., that we're looking to take in, just to say I've now had a response back from Tim Howe's office. We've got a new interim person in, and I'm going to take a phone call from him next week. So we'll just see. I'll keep you advised, Peter.
Yeah, can I just say about the planters? They look excellent. I don't know why they've got this horrible orange and black strip, on them. I don't know why that's needed. Is it just that blind car drivers can actually not bump into them? And God knows what that's about.
Told to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you say they're planted up, there must be subterranean planting, because I went past there today. There wasn't a single plant in them, any of them.
And I was sitting having coffee outside there at lunchtime, and there was no plants in it yet. They are planted with stones and soil.
They were doing it this afternoon.
Bless them. Bless them.
And daffodils as well. So in the spring, the daffodils will come up.
Right, okay, have you got anything else you want to say, Richard, as part of your town clerk report? All done?
Get on the Tunbridge Wells problem.
Okay, thank you. Pat, you want to say something?
I'm sorry, I know this isn't on the agenda, but I've
we're off down then.
Thank you. I've seen some stuff about all the trees and hedgerows they're cutting down for the new railway station. Did they have permission to do that?
Yes.
No.
Yes, they did they?
There were a couple of containers up there. I saw it yesterday when I went past. So they were on site.
Yeah. No, I've seen that on site.
And then with a
They're
couple of
just-
accidents
they're
along
just
there as well.
devastating everything.
We-
Yeah.
We
Stuff
believe
they
that
don't need to take
600
down.
Can we just have one at a time?
Sorry.
Chair, we actually believe, we've been up there and had a look, there's a hedgerow been taken out, and we believe that up to 600 trees will be removed. In the planning application, it actually said minimal environmental impact. So I intend to go up there next week. There's a couple of people going tomorrow to take images of the work that's going on, but
Yeah.
we believe they're going to take out the entire section of woodland up there, which is absolutely devastating.
Becky, could I ask if you would just notify our planning department, our enforcement officers, because they need to contact Kent County Council and they need to look at the application, and then they need to assess as to what should remain and what can be taken out.
Okay.
It's too late. It's too late.
Well,
No, but it may be too late, Pat, if they've already taken them out, but they are subject to retrospective action, be it Kent County Council or
Pat,
not.
they've started taking them out. They haven't removed all of them, but we believe they're going to go the entire length if you look at the
Right.
plans, and the hedgerow has been removed. So we're not sure about the hedgerow, whether it's been cut down. So 2 people I know are going to have a close look tomorrow and take images. I will go out next week, but I will do that, Chair. I will make sure that we try and send information to our own planning department.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing, Becky, and so we can at least get them to go out and have a look and check the plans. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Can I bring
yeah.
something up? Is anybody in this committee aware that permitted development rights were used on the port of Ramsgate to give permission for EE to locate a 15-metre communication tower? I discovered it while I was looking at other stuff. I also looked that either Vatton Falls or London Array needed full planning to put an 11-metre training pylon up. I don't believe it's ever been brought before Ramsgate Town Council, and I don't believe anybody locally was ever informed that there could be a 15-metre EE tower there. I'm not quite sure whether it will sit slightly above the cliff top, which means whatever is emitted from that will be directly into the heads of walkers along that cliff top, because it won't be 15 metres above the cliff top, it will be 15 metres above the level of the pool. So I'm quite concerned that nobody in Ramsgate Town Council and not one single resident was given the opportunity to comment, because again TDC decides to use general permitted development rights.
I'm not sure if that's the case, Becky. Don't know about this at all. But under the Telecommunications Act, it's likely that they've got permitted development under that act and don't need planning consent. But again, that's something you need to check with our planning department. I suggest you do that. But I'm only trying to remember as a planning officer what the Telecommunications Act was like, and it's probably changed as well since I was there. So, but that may be the case. David?
I was just going to say what you said, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Well, on that note, thank you everybody. Have a lovely rest of the evening, and thank you everybody for attending. Thank you.